old Florida law says Disney can build a nuclear power plant. Legislators could change that, and this is according to the Orlando Sentinel. The mouse has always been powerful, but who knew it had the right to split atoms? A 52-year-old state law says Disney World's government can build a nuclear power plant on its property in Orlando, an example of the resort's political leverage it had in creating the Magic Kingdom in 1971. Disney has no plans to capitalize on the power, though. Its focus is on 2 solar farms in Disneyland to generate power, said John Klass, administrator of Reedy Creek Improvement District. I nearly said John Cleese. That would have been very, very entertaining. Even so, Disney and nuclear power have been a hot topic of discussion recently among some state legislators from Central Florida, some who want to strip the company of that right. And we can delve into a little bit more, but I just want to focus on the fact that Disney, at least at one point, and to a degree still does, have power enough to build a nuclear power plant. Kyle, the fact that you live in Orlando, how do you feel about this?
Well, let's put it this way. Disney has a lot of audacity, but I don't think they'll be silly enough to build a nuclear power plant in a place where hurricanes could come tearing through and cause even bigger problems.
You don't want the Magic Kingdom standing up there with Chernobyl and Fukushima in the cultural lexicon.
No, I don't. That's a great point by you, Demos. And let's put it this way: they have a lot of laser light shows that shoot green things into the sky. I don't need them to add something else that would do that.
Must be nice. That's the first thing that come to mind, because I just opened an assisted living community, and it took us 6 months over scheduled budget time. Like, and they just got the green light. Like, that is nice. And I live like relatively close to a nuclear power plant. So, Kyle, let me go ahead and let you know, you don't want it. Like, I'm just saying, but I joke, because when you say that, the first thing that came to mind was Umbrella. That was the first thing that came to mind, Disney's Umbrella in real life.
The thing that really makes this a dangerous prospect is that they first acquired the rights to Star Wars before this happened, right?
Oh, God.
And you do understand why that's an appropriate thing that has to happen first, because you can't be that evil doing this sort of thing without the Imperial March in your arsenal. And just like in Family Guy, when they have the elevator music, it could be all do 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 do. You know, like. Anyway.
Are they going to bury the toxic waste underneath the Country Bear Jamboree? I mean, these are questions we need to
Wow. So, I honestly, if it's not changed, I am going to, in 25 or 30 years, want to tour all of Disney's property, because if they do not take it out, I see no reason why Disney wouldn't do it and use that nuclear power plant to power all their property. I mean, if you can do it, you got the money to do it. If it'll save you money in the end, why not?
When Disney was buying up the land and making the deals with the Florida state government in the late 60s and early 70s, it was the theme park aspect of Disney World at the time was secondary to Walt's plan of creating an experimental prototype community of tomorrow, Epcot, a futuristic city where they could test out new technologies. Essentially, living there would have been a guinea pig for the scientific future. The idea of Disney getting the rights to build a nuclear power plant, isn't really far-fetched to me, knowing the history of what was supposed to go there. Of course, we ended up with, after Walt died, we ended up with Epcot, the theme park, a far cry of what they were hoping to do. But it's not, to me, it's not, this isn't surprising news.
Well, I'll put it this way. Now you mentioned what you do with the Epcot being what it was, and the whole reason why they have this sort of self-governmental power like they do sets all the way back in there. During that time when they were acquiring the land and stuff like that. It's part of what shaped Lake Buena Vista as a community over there. Later on, Celebration is kind of their second attempt to sort of try to do it all again, that kind of thing. But now what you're telling me is if Walt was alive and we or was able to stay alive to produce Epcot in his vision, we instead could have had Ultron. Well, that's even more settling, really.
I will say that the Mickey shaped solar panel is kind of a sight to behold.
Yeah, I can imagine when it's on fire.
Yeah. It looks like 3 Death Stars are coming at me. Thanks, Demos.
If Disney did make a nuclear reactor, it would be an epic nuclear reactor. It would be state of the art.
And it wouldn't look like the stuff that we're used to because they've got enough money to do it right to where they can do it and it actually looks appeasing to the eye. So it will fit in this futuristic city, and we not even know it's a nuclear power plant, but they got the rights to do it. So they can put a nuclear power plant out there, and we not even know that it's there, but they have it there. And because they got it in the paperwork, they can do it.
And
I'm just saying.
They can adopt the People Mover as part of a radiation wash at the end of the day.
Boom.
Demos.
It'll be great.
That's an interesting point by you, TG. Like we talk about, you have the money, Well, really, in the scheme of things, nuclear power is a touch more expensive, sure, but the long run maintenance costs and savings, fiscally speaking, are wildly cheaper. If you can solve for the waste, that's a huge if, obviously. But if anyone to do it right can do it right, to your point, TJ, it would be Disney. And if they do so correctly, it could work to reverse the bad PR that still exists from decades ago with Chernobyl. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I'm just saying that is. And again, the thing that makes me most uncomfortable about it is you're going to build a nuclear power plant in a world in an area where hurricanes regularly pass through.
True, but at the same time, it is in Central Florida that you're not. But a hurricane is not going to remain a Category 5 by the time it gets to Orlando. And on top of that, if you want to take a look at Florida as a state geographically and its limestone composites, there's a reason why the state doesn't get many earthquakes. And in real essence, you take a step back, the most dangerous thing about Orlando outside the tourists are mosquitoes. So it's actually I think it's probably one of the safest areas to build such a to build a nuclear power plant.
So that's adorable, Demos, and I'm sure they said the same thing about the island in Japan where they built one too.
But it was a completely different situation. And on top of that, one of the things that accelerated the Fukushima disaster was they didn't have a lot of their fail safes set up.
Absolutely true. And let's get clear about one other thing. I don't remember if you were here for Charlie or not, and that was only
I was there for Charlie. It was yeah.
So you saw the sort of damage that took place there. Maybe they can brace for a 3 and maybe they can't. But
well, that's funny because Florida does have I did double check. Florida does have 2 nuclear power plants that are run by utility company Next Era Energy. And they operate from St. Lucie County and Turkey Point in Miami-Dade County.
Sweet.
Miami, which is the magnet for most hurricanes in Florida.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, Orlando in Florida is probably the safest spot to actually build one.